Another year's upon us, Joe. I mean, it's an exciting time of year, right? Another season is just on the cusp, and there's lots of things within the organization that fans should be excited about. But as you look at this Barracuda team, this 23-24 team, what has you most excited?
I think really the depth. I mean, we have a lot of depth for the Sharks in there, along with a lot of prospects.
So just going off of last year, there was a mix between these young, kind of highly touted forwards that joined the mix in their first year, and you always have an adjustment for a young player coming to the professional level. But I think for the most part, they suited themselves quite well. Now you come to the second year. Now you really want to see another leap in their game. As you look at this kind of sophomore class, if you will, the Daniil Gushins, the Ozzy Weisblatts, the Brandon Coast, go down that list. What do you want to see from them here in year two?
I think really a significant jump as far as production goes, but also more importantly, just consistency. I think when they go in, we expect them to go back and reflect on their summer, work hard in the gym, and just come back better players. And I believe most of them did, and we're just looking forward to that. We had quite a few first-year players, and this year they'll be that much more mature.
You guys are still one of the youngest teams in the AHL. It's pretty phenomenal given the fact that you have all these new veterans kind of joining the mix, yet you are still that youthful. Talking about the veterans, I look at Scott Sabourin. He's been around the American League for quite some time, has played in the NHL. Nathan Todd is a veteran American Hockey League player. Down the list, there's lots of guys. Ryan Carpenter comes back to the organization. What can these veteran players provide for the younger guys?
I think really more stability. What they'll do is they'll say, you know what, this is the way we do things. They've been around the league for a while. They can, a lot of them have been up in the National Hockey League. They've been through the same thing, so they can kind of really guide them and mentor them, as well as just being stabilized for our team and really help us in as we're facing tough opponents. They're out there, and the American Hockey League's a hard league, and for them to be able to guide us through and help us get some more W's at the same time as develop the players.
I know last year when you looked at the roster on opening night, maybe the biggest question mark was the D-core. And the organization over the last year has really made a concerted effort, obviously, to kind of bolster the defensive depth in terms of a prospect standpoint. Shakir Mukhamadullin, big player acquired in the trade for Timo Meier. Even a guy like Nick Cicek, who was kind of up and down, started last year with the Sharks, starts now in the American Hockey League. How do you feel about just the overall defensive group that you have this year?
Well, I think, with the Shakir and with Nick, as you mentioned, they both really have time under their belt. Nick had some time in the National League last year along with another full American League year, so we expect him to come back and just be that much more seasoned. With Shakir, it was great that he was able to come back from the KHL last year and play some late season games and help us there, and it was a great experience for him. And at 20 years old too, we're seeing him just growing. He's still physically growing and going through everything else. So it's very promising with the guys that we have there, and we've surrounded them with some other guys, Gwanke and you'll see with the Sharks too, there's still probably some movement yet to come because there's still 11D up with the Sharks.
Well, I noticed you and Mike taking in practice both today and yesterday, and that's one of the great benefits of having your organization, your American League team, under the same roof. What can a player do? Now, it can't be just when Mike's watching, but what can a player do on a daily basis to try to make an impression and show, again, the people making decisions that they are part of the future and they're part of the solution here? I
think they have to be ready to play the National Hockey League game, and that's kind of what we look for. It's not as simple as looking at a score sheet and saying that this person has scored this many goals or this many assists. They could still go out in a game and not be able to handle some of the National Hockey League players. We just look, are they well-rounded? Can they come up? Can they play in the National Hockey League game and defend as well as produce and do the other things that they're good at? So it's really what can they do at the next level, and that's kind of what we watch for, subtleties.
American League, the best development league in the entire world, but there are subtle changes when you go to the NHL. Obviously, faster, stronger, quicker, more skilled when you go to the NHL. But sometimes the difference between a player being successful and not can be quite finite. So for a player trying to get to the NHL, what do they need to take care of while in the AHL before that opportunity?
Hey, play all the little things. Just play all the little things that really help to win games, and that's what we try and do. Just more things that they could do. We're not telling them to play the perfect game. In fact, we want them to try things. It's still a game of skill, and we want them to try and make some mistakes along the way, and that's how they're going to learn. But at the same time, you have to go out there, and that night you might be playing against McDavid or Sidney Crosby, and you have to be able to handle that. So it's just really to find that balance, and again, find things that will lead to winning hockey. And when you lead to winning hockey, coaches are going to want you. They're going to feel better about that. So that's really what their goal is.
Just kind of doubling down on that, you don't want to take a player's skill out of their game, right? That's one of the reasons why they're drafted where they're drafted, because of the skill level. That being said, you've got to be well-rounded to be able to go to the NHL and be relied upon by a coaching staff in the National Hockey League. So how do you kind of balance those two?
We need all roles, and we try and really find the best roles for players. Everybody at their given level, whether it be prep school to college to junior hockey, they are usually the best player on the team. And so when they come into here, some players will keep doing that, and other players will have to settle in with roles. After a while, we kind of get the sense on where guys fit in the lineup, and we tell them to learn as much as they can. So what we call that is adaptability and be an adaptable player. So you're not really stuck being able to play just one spot in the lineup. If you're adaptable and you can play many spots, it's much better for you to ascend into the National Hockey League. And most players as they come in, they're not going to go right to the first line. They're going to go to the fourth line in the for forwards in the National Hockey League, and they have to be ready to play there. So we just tell them to be adaptable.
For a player trying to recruit a player to San Jose, to this organization, and having now this facility at your disposal at the American League level, obviously that's huge for the sales pitch. Amongst the other things, knowing that the brass isn't forgetting about you, that they're watching you on a day-to-day basis. With the building, coupled with all those other factors, how has that influenced kind of the recruiting process to get players to San Jose?
It's really helped. Once they come in, a lot of times they'll come in playing for another team and they go, oh, wow, I had no idea that we had the new arena here and the 6th-ranked facility. Most players in the league, they love coming to San Jose. They love the people, the weather, the support, everything else, how close everything is, family atmosphere. So it really kind of sells itself as when people come in. But the icing on the cake is really just when they could see that Mike Greer and David Quinn are watching them most nights and just right there, and they're not feeling like they're out on an island somewhere. Am I really being watched or not? They see it themselves.
We talked about the balance between skill and playing within the structure. There's another balance at the AHL level, and that's winning and development. Now, winning can be contagious, not just at the AHL level, but it can creep into the NHL and vice versa. So how important is it for this Barracuda team to win and be a successful team from that standpoint as well?
Well, it's huge. I go back to the 16-17 Barracuda team, and that team went to the Western Conference Finals. I had a few injuries. I think that was our year. That was a year that we could have went probably all the way. But I look back to that team and how many players ended up in the National Hockey League, and it wasn't necessarily just going back to the same things we're talking about, that it's production. It was really just that they played as a team and they won together. And other scouts around the league, everybody else sees that, and a lot of these players will get jobs off of that. So that's what we really try and encourage. Say, if you want to really kind of get to the next level in this league, go out and win hockey games. So winning is very important. We always take the balance there too. Do we have enough prospects in the pipeline and everything else? That's very important to us as well. But it's a delicate balance.
That's a great point, because sometimes young players, they're just itching to get to the NHL. They want it so desperately. And sometimes that can impact, their emotional balance, if you will, during a long season. But I think it's an incredible point. Winning kind of solves a lot. If you win, everybody's going to get a piece of the pie, if you will.
It sure does. I mean, it's something I think we have a good balance to do that this year with our, I think it's a really good balance of prospects and leaders within there. So we should be able to win. We should be able to develop prospects.
One more for you. I know Patrick Marleau announced earlier this offseason he'll be helping out with some of the young prospects. We've talked about this briefly, but just want to ask you again, how important is it to have a guy like him with his reputation, his career, to be able to have him be around the guys on a daily basis?
Oh, it's huge. He could go through, he's been through it himself. And that's, right now I think we have over 12,000 games of NHL games amongst our staff, not necessarily all in development, but between scouting and management and everything else. So we've surrounded our players with people that have been through it before. And Patrick's just such a great soft-spoken, professional teacher that he can go through and just share his experiences with guys, and they love listening to him. They love learning little tidbits, and he's got a lot to give. So we're very excited that, along with Mike Ricci, and we have Lucas Spiza, Tommy Wingles, Todd Marchant, and Mike played over 1,000 games himself. So just all the people that surround the players on a daily basis have so much to give them.
Well, it should be a great year, Joe. We appreciate it. Best of luck this season. Thank you again.